Hi, my name is Stephen Shaw, and in this video I'm going to teach you how to price landscape construction jobs. I'm talking about retaining walls, walkways, patios, new lawns. So let's get into it. So we're going to cover the different jobs and how to price them. We're going to cover how to measure it. We're going to cover the tools you're going to need. And we're going to cover the pricing. So let's start. So when you're pricing landscape construction jobs, you're going to be measuring shapes. So what I mean by that, so this is a new lawn we're going to be measuring. This customer wants their lawn tore out, and so we have to figure out how much lawn there is. So the blue box there, that's the house. This is the driveway, and this is the grass. So what I would do is I would come in and I would measure all the different shapes. So if you look here, there's a rectangle. So I would measure that. The length and width. And then I would go to the side of the house here. And I would measure this area. And then I would go to this side of the house. Measure this. And then I would measure this little patch down here. And then I would measure the back part here. So you see, it's all shapes. And you just want to measure the different shapes, and then you add it all together in the end. Sometimes you're going to run into a spot of grass that's an odd shape, so it's a triangle. So what you want to do here is you're going to measure the length of the triangle, and then you're going to find what the middle of the triangle is, so the halfway point. And we'll say this is the halfway point. You're going to measure that area, and that'll give you the average of the triangle. So now that we got everything measured, we're going to add it all together, and then that'll give us the total area of lawn that we have to replace. And we're going to talk about pricing it at the end, so stay tuned for that. Here's another tool I use. It's a measuring wheel. So basically, when I go to the property and I'm measuring out a lawn or whatever I'm measuring for a walkway or a patio, I would just use this to measure the distance. I just walk with it, and it's going to give me the feet right there. See, as you spin it, gives you the feet. And it just makes it easier because you're going to have to go to the job site to meet the customer anyways. So that's when I just pull this out, measure it out right on the job, and then boom, you get your square footage. So now let's move on to retaining walls. So measuring retaining walls, old versus new. So let's say this is an old retaining wall the customer has. It's a wooden retaining wall that's falling down, and they want to get it replaced. So what we will do is, that's pretty simple. We're just going to measure the height versus the width, and that'll give us the square footage for that old retaining wall. Now, you might have an instance where the retaining wall steps down. So let's just say the retaining wall is stepping down on here because there's a grade behind the wall. So again, we would measure the height, and then we would just try and find, you would measure the width, and then you would try and find like the middle between of the slope of this retaining wall and then measure the height that way. And that'll give you the average of that slope. So what if they want a new retaining wall installed? Let's say in this example they have this giant hill here. They have the driveway right here. And they want to extend that driveway into this hill. So what we got to do is first we got to figure out how far do they want to extend the driveway. And then once we establish how far they want to go back with the driveway, we're going to measure the height of the hill to that point. And you always got to keep in mind that you're going to have to dig out a little bit past the hill for drainage and mostly just for drainage actually. So if they want the driveway to end here, then you're actually going to have to dig out to about here. And you're going to have to factor in hauling all this dirt away. Now that we know where they want it, we're going to be able to get the height of the hill using a laser level. So what you do is you're going to set this laser level at the top of the hill, and you're going to stand down here at the level point where the retaining wall wants to go. And there's another part of this tool. I'll show you actually. So this is the laser level, and what it does is it spins at the top here and it shoots a laser perfectly level 365 degrees. So you would place this on a stand at the top of the hill, and it's going to shoot the perfectly level laser around. And then this little receiver here, that's going to pick up the laser, and you attach the receiver to this stick. You attach the receiver to the stick, and then basically you want to extend it up until it starts to beep. And when it beeps, that'll give you the height of that the retaining wall needs to be. And you can pull the stick out and slide it up, and then basically you're going to put this on the ground, and wherever it starts beeping at, so wherever it starts beeping at, that's going to tell you how high you got to be. So let's say it starts beeping right here, so that's 5 feet. It's going to be 5 feet high. Now if the wall isn't too high, you can usually eyeball it, or just grab a measuring tape and kind of eyeball it that way. I really only use the laser level when it's a really high hill that I can't actually just eyeball. So the laser level would be up here. You would be standing down here with the stick, and the receiver, once it's at the same height as the laser level, it will pick it up, start beeping, and then you'll know how high the retaining wall has to be. And then you just have to figure out how wide it has to be too, which is pretty self-explanatory. Now we're going to talk about walkways and patios. Again, these are all measured in shapes. Let's say this customer wants this patio here. Basically, we just measure the area. Just pretend that this is ground. We would just measure the area where they want the patio. Length, width, pretty easy. That'll give you the square footage. Square foot. But if they want to put like some curves in it, let's say this is a walkway and they want to curve it, I would basically just measure the length of it like that, and then measure the width like that, and that'll give you the square footage for that walkway. Something to keep in mind though when you're pricing the walkways and patios, if they do want curves in it, it's going to cost more because it takes a lot more time to cut out the curve in the pavers than it does just to make it square or rectangle. Whenever you have curves involved, it's going to take more time and it's going to cost more. And another thing to consider is how level is the ground. So say they want this giant patio paver put in. How level is the ground? Are you going to have to build a retaining wall, say on this end of the patio, to get that level? Okay, so now let's move on to getting the numbers. So pricing by square foot and linear foot. Once you got this down, it just makes pricing jobs so much easier because you can scale it up and down. So say you price a job that the patio is 150 square feet. You know, you're going to figure out how long it took you to do that patio, how much were the materials involved, and then you're going to divide that into the square foot of the patio. So let's say it took you 3 days. Can you see that? Okay, you can. 3 days to build, and you charge $1,000 a day. So X would be $3,000. Sorry, you can't really see that. I'll do it up here. So X would be $3,000. And then how much were the materials? So let's say it was $1,000 in materials. And then you want to divide X and Y into Z. So the total is going to be 4,000. You're going to divide that into 150 square feet. And then that will give you 26.66. So now you know, in order to build that retaining wall using that type of material, it's going to be $26 per square foot. And then when you go to price another job, let's say the next job is 800 square feet. Sorry for my sloppy handwriting here. So let's say the next job is 800 square feet. Then all you got to do is take $26, round it up 27, and times it by 800. And then boom, it gives you the exact price you need to charge to build that 800 square foot patio. Now to keep in mind, you might have to raise the price a little bit if you notice things like maybe it's a hard time getting materials into the backyard, so you have to maybe tack on an extra grand or two if you think it's going to take you an extra day or two to get materials back there. And if they want curves, then you got to tack on a little bit more. But it's going to give you a perfect, well, not perfect, it's going to give you a great starting point. Yeah, all right, well that's it. So obviously if you want to figure out your hourly rate, that's a topic for another video. But that's pricing landscape construction jobs in a nutshell. I hope you found this information helpful. If you did, please like and subscribe. And if you want to work with me, I help people start their own landscape and construction business or help them scale their landscape and construction business profitably. So if that interests you, you can find my free training in the link on the main channel. And thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video.